Watching, and even being involved in some of the debates on Doctor Who recently, has led me to think about a particular word being bandied about: political. Critics say that Doctor Who has become too political. Fans of current-day Doctor Who say that Doctor Who has always been political. Who's correct here? Are they both right, or both wrong, or is there somewhere in the middle? Fandom has been polarised on the subject, and certainly from the figures I've seen, the majority of fans lean on the side of the show being too political. But what exactly does that mean? When did the Great Divide start, if it started at all? Was there a definite turning point? Or has it simply been a gradual change over the years? Or has fandom always been this polarised? You could say that my view is subjective, but I feel strongly that there is enough objective evidence to suggest that a massive change occurred in Doctor Who in 2017. So there are two distinct political eras of Doctor Who. One that runs from 1963 to 2016, and from 2017 to the present day. Both indeed are political, but in two very distinct ways. I think it'd be very helpful to all fans when using the term political in reference to Doctor Who to split the word into two very different definitions: subtle allegory with universal themes, and explicit issue-driven ideology. Let's start with 1963 to 2016. Yes, I know there was ideological messaging in Season 10 in 2016, but while the companion was soapboxing to a degree, the main character was not, unlike the main character in 2017. From 1963 to 2016, Doctor Who used subtle allegory for political themes. This means that most, if not all in the audience, could relate to the ideas being expressed within the tapestry of a science fiction story. In the classic era, political commentary was typically subtle, with stories like The Daleks, introduced in 1963, symbolising fascist ideologies through their xenophobic exterminate mantra, echoing post-World War II fears. The War Games in 1969 critiqued war and imperialism, while The Green Death in 1973 addressed environmentalism, portraying corporate greed causing ecological disaster. These narratives were less about preaching and more about embedding universal moral questions, often through multi-episode serials. The revival, under Davies and Moffat, brought sharper social commentary, often cloaked in emotional or character-driven stories. Davies' episodes, such as The Long Game in 2005, critiqued media manipulation, and Planet of the Ood in 2008 addressed slavery and corporate exploitation. Moffat's run, like The Beast Below in 2010, explored authoritarianism and sacrifice, and the Zygon inversion in 2015 addressed refugee crises and peace negotiations. The politics were present, but balanced with adventure and humour, aiming for broad appeal. The tone during this period was generally accessible, with political themes open to interpretation. For example, The Happiness Patrol in 1988 critiqued Thatcherism through a surreal dystopia, but viewers could enjoy it as a quirky adventure without catching the subtext. As far as representation goes, diversity was limited, with mostly white male doctors and companions. The classic era featured actors like William Hartnell and Tom Baker, with occasional diverse companions like Sarah Jane Smith, who had a women's lib point of view, at least in the beginning. The revival introduced more diversity, such as Martha Jones in 2007, a black woman, but identity politics were understated, often secondary to broader narratives. Since 2017, Doctor Who has seen a shift toward explicit and issue-driven storytelling. In the Chibnall era, between 2017 and 22, the show became more direct in addressing contemporary issues. Episodes like Rosa in 2018 tackled the civil rights movement, depicting Rosa Parks' bus protest, while Orphan 55 in 2020 was a blunt warning about climate change, showing a ravaged future Earth, and the Doctor lecturing us about it. The Witchfinders in 2018 explored misogyny, through historical witch hunts, tying it to modern gender dynamics. These stories often prioritise message over subtlety, with characters explicitly discussing issues. When Davies returned in 2023, he amplified representation and social themes, with Ncuti Gatwa's casting as the first black, openly queer Doctor, and episodes like The Star Beast in 2023 featuring trans character Rose Noble. Series 14, or 1, in 2024, and Series 15, or 2, in 2025 continued this trend, with episodes addressing social media dependency in Dot and Bubble, war profiteering in Boom, and racial prejudice, once again Dot and Bubble. Series 15, which premiered on April 12, 2025 and concluded on May 31, 2025, featured companions Ruby Sunday, played by Millie Gibson, and new companion Belinda Chandra, played by Varada Sethu, notable for being the first primary cast entirely of non-white actors. In the Series 15 finale, which aired on May 31, 2025, Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor regenerated into Billie Piper, previously Rose Tyler, a companion from 2005 to 2006. This twist, confirmed by news articles and fan reactions on social media, suggests Piper may be the 16th Doctor, though official confirmation is pending. This move continues the trend of boundary-pushing casting, potentially making Piper the third woman to play the Doctor, following Whittaker and Jo Martin. The tone in this era is more foregrounded, with political elements sometimes perceived as didactic, leading to mixed reviews. For example, Orphan 55 was criticised as preachy for its climate message, while Rosa was praised for teaching history with heart. In terms of representation, this era prioritises diversity, with Whittaker's casting sparking debates, Gatwa's tenure celebrated for inclusivity, and Piper's potential role adding another layer. Companions like Yaz, who was South Asian and female, and Ryan, black and male, in Chibnall's run, and trans characters in Davies' era reflect a deliberate push for inclusivity, often labelled political by critics who feel it's agenda-driven, while supporters see it as reflecting modern Britain. Let's think about the political comparison between the eras in question here. From 1963 to 2016, the political approach was subtle allegory with universal themes, weaving any political messages into the adventure, either open to interpretation or simply having an understanding of the message not even required to enjoy the story. The representation was mostly white with male doctors, which was a representation of British culture itself, internationally and broadly accepted as part of its charm. From 2017 to the present, the political approach has been explicit and issue-driven, with these themes foregrounded, didactic or intended to teach the audience something, and most completely message-driven at the expense of good storytelling. Despite it having supposedly more diverse representation, it has polarised fan debates on wokeness versus inclusivity and driven fans apart. When looking at subtlety versus explicitness, the earlier era leaned on allegory, like Genesis of the Daleks in 1975, which explores genocide, letting viewers draw parallels. The recent era, with episodes like 73 Yards in 2024, addresses political power and fear, names issues directly, sometimes at the expense of narrative nuance. The focus on representation from 1963 to 2016 had sporadic diversity with a focus on story, with identity politics understated. For example, Martha's racism subplot in Human Nature from 2007. 2017 to the present prioritises casting, with episodes addressing race, gender and queerness, reflecting modern social movements, all at the cost of good storytelling. Has the audience always been polarised? The earlier period's political elements were less contentious, with criticism focusing on production quality. In the recent era, especially post-2017, heated debates have sparked, with social media posts showing fans split between those who feel it's too woke, for example, New Who feels like a lecture, not sci-fi, and those who celebrate inclusivity, for example, Jodie's Doctor broke barriers. It is true, Doctor Who has always been political, but the shift from the 1963 to 2016 era to the 2017 to present era marks a move from subtle allegory to explicit commentary, with increased focus on diversity and contemporary issues. The recent era, with Ncuti Gatwa's tenure ending in 2025 and Billie Piper's potential new role, continues to push boundaries, reflecting modern cultural debates. This evolution has led to polarised fan reactions, contrasting with the broader acceptance of earlier political elements, highlighting the show's supposed adaptability to changing societal norms. But I ask the question, what kind of politics do you want in Doctor Who? Do you want subtle allegory with universal themes that almost everyone can relate to? Or do you want explicit, issue-driven ideas foregrounded at the cost of good storytelling? I know what I want. Please, leave your own comments down below.